Hi everyone, so we're going to be looking at this example here where we're going to have a parent and child widget. So the parent widget is the main green container and then the child widget is that blue space. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to interact with it. So let's say we want to call the parent from the child widget, and you can see here the parent data changes, and we can then change it to void callback. So if I click it, it says parent data void callback now. And then I can also, from the parent widget, do something in the child widget, and this is where I can click on call child function. So if I click it, you can see the number increases, and I can just reset it, reset the text here from the parent widget. And this is what we're going to be working on for this video. Okay, so we're going to open up a brand new terminal here, and I'm just going to make a brand new project. So cd desktop, I'll do Flutter create, and I'll just call this parent child demo. And I'll just drag and drop the folder over. And there we go, we got the basic template all set up for us. And what we're going to do is we're just going to clean up some of the code just to get started. Alright, so all we're going to do is we're just going to clean up this area here. I'm just going to delete a bunch of the text, and I'll get rid of this home page class here. And because we're going to make a screens folder here in our libs folder, and I'll call it child underscore widget dot dart, and I'll also make a parent underscore widget dot dart. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to call the parent widget so we have to first set up the class here. And I'll make a create state. And we'll set up a build here. And I'll make this parent widget. There we go. So we got this set up. I'll make a return. And we're going to be setting up, let's say, we're going to set up a scaffold here. And we'll get back to this a little bit later. I'll also have to connect this, so I'll make const parent widget super.key. There we go. And then for this parent widget, all I need to do is just import the parent widget to this file. And what we're going to do is let's set up the child widget as well. And we're going to make this stateful as well, because remember, both of them have like changing parts to it. Child widget state. And what we'll do is we will go over to, so we're creating the state, child widget state, and then we're going to have class child widget state. And then I will have a const child widget and here I want to do a return, and I'm going to return a card. So let's get into actually coding out the parent widget first, just the style of it. So we're going to have some sort of height, size.height, width, size.width, and actually before we do that, we're going to, so in our scaffold we're going to put the app bar and app bar, and then we're going to have a title, const text demo, and the body, we'll put it in a sized box. Height, size.width or size.height, and then width, size.width, and we'll have a child with a stack. And it'll have some children and a container. And then here we'll also do size.width, color, colors dot whatever color you want. I'll put light green, child, and then main access alignment. And we're going to center this. And then we'll have children. And then here we can add the text and the buttons. So const text, let's put test right now, elevated button, and we have our on pressed and the child. And the on pressed, we're just going to make it empty for right now. And then in the child, we'll have some text, call child function. Perfect. And then we'll have text again, parent data. Okay, we'll just add test right now, and then elevated button again. And I'll just make this empty. And this elevated button will have some sort of text of reset. So for right over here, we're getting all this errors because I was not supposed to put a curly brace, but it's supposed to be a rounded bracket, and then make sure I change the ending bracket as well. So size box, so it should be this one. End it with a rounded bracket. There we go. That looks a lot better. And let me check here what's wrong with the size here. So for the size, it looks like we just didn't set up the size here yet. So I'm going to, under the build, type in size is equal to media query. And we're going to put dot of context dot size. There we go. So all that sizing errors went away now. And we have the basic template. Okay, so we have an error here because we forgot a comma right there. And that looks a lot better. So don't worry about these squiggles under here because we are going to change the text right here a little bit later. So we'll be dynamic. Right now it's just complaining that it should be a constant when we do not need it a constant. And what I'm going to do is, before I start changing any of that, I'm going to also set up the child widget as well. So I'm going to go to my, actually before I do that, I'm going to right here up above, inside this underscore parent widget state, I'm going to, right before the override, type in string parent text is equal to parent text. There we go. And that parent text is actually going to go right down here where this error shows up, or that blue squiggle, and I'm going to put the $sign to then call. I don't need the curly brace, but I'll put parent text, and there we go. We're referring to that parent text. That is the default value right now of parent text, and this is going to change dynamically when we paste or when we push the button. So what I'm going to do before I continue on, I'm going to just run this application and just make sure I can at least see the parent page. And we're on iPhone 15 Pro Max. You can use any device you want. Again, I just went to run, start debugging. And in order to select your phone, you can always just go to the simulator, right click, and then click on any devices that you want. I just like to go with the iPhone 15 Pro Max. So there we go. We could see that we have the basic green, light green background with the two buttons, and nothing works yet because we didn't set it up. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to now go to my child widget, and I'm going to set up a few things in my child widget just to see everything. So here I'm going to, let's see, child widget, return card. Okay, so let's set up the stuff here in the class above the override. I'll put a value equal to 0. And inside the card, I can start setting up a few things here. Make sure it's rounded bracket. And we're going to have elevation 10, child container, rounded bracket. And what I'm going to do is put a height of 200, decoration, box decoration. And what I'll be doing here is I will add a border radius dot circular just to round the corners. color to the colors dot light blue. You can choose any color you like. And then under the decoration, I'll make the child column children const text child widget, and I'll make the elevated button and I'll just make the on pressed empty for right now, and the child, I'll just make it a const text call parent. And then what I'll do under the elevated button is I'll also have a text, so I'll put center child text child value, and that's going to be the value that I have added at the top there. So this value, it's referring to that value here, and I'm just going to put that below. And then under the center, I will make the elevated button again. And make sure I have a comma. And I will put rounded curly, just make it empty button right now. But here in the child, I'll put some sort of text. Just call it void callback. There we go. So now we have the basic outline of the child widget complete, and we just need to connect the parent and the child now. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be connecting the parent and the child widget to see how we can interact with one another. And we're going to go back to the parent widget here, and we're going to see what we need to set up. So the first few things that I see that we need to set up are we're going to have to set up a few things at the top of the parent widget. So we got our stateful widget there, and we need to set up the global key. So global key is what's going to be able to see what is being passed over to different areas. So we're going to be able to reference and pass over values. Global key child widget. So we're going to reference this to our child widget state. There we go. And then underscore child key, global key child widget state. There we go. Okay, so we're going to have to connect this to the child widget. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to, for the stateful widget, we're also going to have to, inside the parent widget, actually that one's good, let us go down to the bottom over here, and right below the container, so we are still inside the square bracket but under the container, and we're going to call the child widget, and in this child widget we're going to have a key, which is the child key, and we're going to have a callback function, and we're going to make something called a change parent data, and also a void callback which is change parent data to. So we have these two values that we're going to pass over based on the key that we have set up, the child key. The child key is referencing this child widget state. We're going to fix this issue soon. Let me first go through all this. I'm going to set up the functions all the way at the bottom here. It's going to be right before the last closing bracket, so right there. And I'm just going to make 3 different functions. And we're going to make a change parent data, string text set state parent text is equal to text. And then we're going to make another function, which is void change parent data to. And we're going to put a set state to update this as well. Parent text is equal to void callback. And then we're going to make one last one in here. We're going to make a change, a void change parent data reset set state to update the value of parent text to parent text. Perfect. So we have those 3 functions all set up there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to have to see what else we need to connect here. So there is this reset button, and in this reset button we're going to call that change parent data reset right there. And then we're also going to have to do something in this button, and it's going to call the underscore child key dot current state and question mark, it could be null, and then change value. So this change value will be coming from the other file here. So let's go over to the child widget because we have to see what's going on with this global key right here. So we're going to go to child widget, and we're going to see what we need to set up here too. Okay, so we got our child widget, and then we got our 3 different functions that are set up. The parent text is right there with the default text right there. And what we're going to be doing is inside this elevated button, I put the change parent data reset there to call that function. And then also right over here in this first elevated button, I'm going to put the underscore child key, and we're going to call the current state. And then the question mark is just if it's null. And then we're going to call this change value, which is going to come from our child widget. So let's set up the child widget portion as well and see what we can do about this error here. Okay, so we're going to go into the child widget here, and we're going to see what we need to set up. So we're going to go up to the top here, and we're going to set up these final function of a string, callback function, and then final void call back void callback. So we're going to make a void callback, and since we're making this, we're going to have to make a required this dot void callback, and then also required this dot callback function. So I was just going to reference those calls that we're making at the parent widget right over here. When we're passing over this in this child widget, we're making calling the change parent data and change parent data 2. We have a callback function and void callback. So that's what we're referring to right here, void callback and callback function. And what we're going to be doing is here we're going to scroll down. We're going to see what we need to incorporate. And it looks like here for the elevated button, the first one, we're going to call the widget dot callback function with parameter. And then we're going to call the other function here, or the other button, when we click it, we're going to call widget dot void callback. And what we're going to do here is we're going to set up the two functions as well. So right before the last closing bracket, we're going to make a void change value. And it's going to be a set state value plus plus. And then we'll make a void change value dynamic. And we're going to send some sort of integer value. Set state value is equal to val. And that should be okay. And now that we've set those things up, let's see what exactly is causing the error. Because we made, okay, I see what's making the error now. Because that is an underscore here. And in my code, I did not make it underscore. So let's see if we could go back over here, remove that underscore, and want to remove that underscore because underscore means private. So if we do not want to make it private, then we remove that underscore. And now we're able to reference that global key with that child widget state. And now we can see the blue for the child widget and the green for the parent. So let's go over this one more time here. So we have the main.dart, so it's calling that parent widget. And you can see here that we start with the root and then goes to the my app. My app is this class right here. And then it's going to look at that material app that's surrounding everything. And then it's going to go to the parent widget because that's where the home page is. So it's going to encapsulate everything in the home page. And next it's going to go to the scaffold, which is coming from our parent widget. So right over here we can see that this second class, as I mentioned before, is not going to be private, so I removed the underscore. There's no underscore in front of it, or else it will cause an error. So we're going to just make it public. If you put an underscore, it will be private. So now we're able to reference that global key here in the parent widget, and in the parent widget it's going to set up that child key, and that child key is going to be referenced when we add that child widget here in the same area as the parent, and the key is referenced right there for the child key. And then we have these two functions that are being passed over as well in order to be called. So right over here we can see that we have the first button for call child function, and it's going to reference that child key, and it's just saying whatever the current state is for that child widget, it's just going to pass over into the change value function, which is in our child widget, and it's just right over here at the bottom. So this function change value, you'll see, is just going to use a set state. It's going to increase the value each time the person clicks on the button. And what's going to happen is it's just going to right here is just going to increase this value number, and then we're going to be able to display it on the actual child widget. You can see right there, child value. And right over here in the parent, we're calling the child widget, and that's calling two other functions. So it's able to call the callback function and the void callback. So here in the child widget, you can see here we got this function string callback function and void callback. So if we scroll down in the child, we could see that when we press it, that the widget.callback function is just going to pass back the string value back to that callback function, because widget dot whatever is just referencing whatever's in this actual class here, and then we're going to pass it back to whoever's calling this class. And then the elevated, this next button is just doing the same thing, widget.void callback. This one's not passing anything back, so it's empty brackets here, there's no arguments. But the widget.void callback, it's just calling this final void callback right there, and it's going to go back to the parent widget. It's going to, whenever whichever two values are called, it's going to trigger the function down here to either change the data based on the text that's being passed over, so it sets a state and updates the parent text, or if it's the void callback, means there's nothing being returned, so that means inside the function itself we are just going to change the parent text directly. Right over here as well, we have the second button, which is then going to be calling the change parent data reset, which is just this reset button. So whenever one of these buttons from the child is being pressed, like call parent, it changes that parent data. Void callback changes that parent data again. And then we click on reset. The reset is right here in the same reference in the parent widget.dart file, and it's just changing the text back to its default value. So what we're going to be doing is here on the parent, we're going to be, it's called call child function, and we're going to be saying, okay, wherever that child key is located, we're passing it over to whatever the current state is. The question mark is saying it could be null or nothing passed over, but we're going to reference that change value that is going to wherever that child key is being referenced, and the change value is right here at the bottom of the child class here, and we have the change values being referenced, so it's going to increment the value whenever someone clicks on the button here. So you can see there the number increases in the child, and that's this value right there, the child value. And the value that's being set, it's initially 0, and then we're just incrementing the number as we keep going.